Yep, you're live.
Welcome to my YouTube channel, Running on Empty, where my gas tank is always half full or running on fumes. So please sit back, relax, and enjoy the journey. Everyone is family here. And today I have a very special guest, Vlad Gruetz and Orange Kitty. And we're going to spend some time talking with you about a very serious situation. We're going to be talking about an active boom boom situation and what to do, because we love all of you and we want you all to be okay. So please bear with us. This is our first live stream together. I think it's going okay so far. So here we go. 260 pounds. I would like to share the fact that Orange Kitty has had a lot of training in this situation at where she works. And I've had some training as well. And some of it will mesh up together. And some of it might be a little bit different, but you're going to find that in any situation, it's going to be different. So you got to use our common sense, guys. And remember, keep your eyes open. So yes. Kitty, would you like to share some of the experiences that you went through your training?
Yes. So it was at a different facility that I worked at, actually. It wasn't the one that I work at now. And the local police came in and they trained us. And they trained us with ping pong balls. It actually simulated the things that go flying through the air. Lead. And so they took the ping pong balls and they threw them through the air. And they said, so if it touches you, then you got hit. So I was like on alert. You know, as soon as the police officers came in and they said this, I was like looking around and I was like, okay, so it's going to be go time, right? I'm one of those people, I'm like always watching my surroundings. I've been like that, since I was younger. And I look at this guy that I worked with and I was like, okay, I said, you and I, we're teaming up. I said, because I know that you have keys. I said, let's go. And grabbed him and a bunch of other coworkers, and we went to a room, barricaded ourselves because they were like, rule 1, barricade. We grabbed furniture, put it in front of the doors, and that's what they say. Distance yourself from the person with the boom boom. Distance yourself. Barricade, whatever you can find, doesn't matter what it is, anything heavy, bulky, long, barricade it, and just make something to keep yourself away from that person, to where they can't get near you. And we passed that section of the course. They knocked on the door and said, okay, all clear, and we could come out of the room. The second part of it was we had to find a way to distance ourselves and escape. We actually had to get out of the building. So this involved jumping out of a window. So we had to get away from the person, and then we had to go through another room, and then we had to get the screen off. And this is where I teamed up with maintenance, because some of the men were older and they were more gentlemanlike. So I was like, okay, I'm going to team up with you. And they actually let all of the women go first. So we all got out of the window, and I don't know if this would, go down in a real, event, but I just, that's who I teamed up with in this event. So we all got out on this one. We were all clear. And then for the next course of it, they said, now what's going to happen when you actually have to face the person? They said, if it comes down to it and you actually have to face them, team up with, a few of your coworkers and just rush the person. And just take the item away from them if you have to. Just rush them and take it. I also had a situation where I had to, deal with somebody that was an armed robber suspect. The person did not harm me. at all. Didn't try to hurt me at all. Didn't, try to rob me. He didn't try to, do anything at all to me. I followed my gut instinct. I was nice to this person. And he did have, something in his waistband, boom, boom. And I followed my instinct when I got the reverse 911 call and had someone contact the police. And it turns out that he was, in fact, that person. So another thing that I can tell people is follow your gut instinct. Always. If you start following your gut instinct more and more and more, it will lead you in the right direction.
That's such a good point, Kitty, because we don't always want to trust our instinct. And the thing is, we might look at certain people in the buildings that we're working at or in other situations and think, well, they're going to be the leader. They're the ones that are going to help us take care of the situation. But it might be us that needs to take care of the situation and make the decisions, because they might freeze up. They might get scared. Unless we've been in a situation, we really don't know what's going to happen. So, we have to think about it.
Yeah, and when this happened, at the place where I worked, with the guy who was the armed robber suspect, when he first came in, this was when I was an assistant manager at, a little smoke shop. They sold like tobacco and stuff like that. He came in and he was acting kind of weird, and he asked, for a pack of smokes, and I was like, well, do you have your ID? I said, because you look kind of young. And he was like, no, and something told me, don't make this guy mad. That was my first instinct. Something said, don't make this guy mad. And I was like, well, you got 2 kids with you. I think you're old enough. Here, I'll sell you that pack of smokes. And it was just something told me, don't make him mad.
Right.
And my grandma always said, follow your instincts. Don't go against your instincts. And then it was like a domino effect. I got a reverse 911 call and, this, and then he fit the, description of the suspect. And I was like, oh my goodness. And I was like, okay, I need to start thinking real quick here. And, he was trying to get rides with my customers. So I was like, you know what, why don't you just go sit in the lounge? I said, my husband's on the way, to give you a ride. And I was thinking up of a diversion to, and I kept him from leaving with my customers. Because I knew if he left with my customers,
they wouldn't be safe.
So I kept him there with me until the police showed up. So, yeah, I had to think quick on my feet. So, first advice, follow your instinct. Because if you do that and you keep doing that, 9 times out of 10, your instinct will lead you in the right direction.
Her other instinct was if she called 911, they would go rushing in there
and push that panic button. It would have been bad, and I did not.
So she called me, and I called them, and they asked, well, what's he doing? And I said, he's relaxing in the lounge. So they went in there real quietly to the lounge and threw down on him, and nobody got hurt. Thank God, So, yeah, that was bad. While we got some people in the lounge, just let me tell you a few things I know. I'm trying to cook fresh fries for Kitty here. Generally, if it's a one-on-one thing, they're pulling out a handpiece to intimidate you. If you go after them immediately and try to disarm them, generally they will be panicked because they didn't expect that. They expected you to be scared and start crying. But in a mass situation, unless the person is very highly trained, they're generally going to have tunnel vision real bad. They're only going to see what's in front of them. Military and law enforcement, that's the first thing they train out of them is tunnel vision. So you want to stay out of their line of sight for sure. And if you barricade something, they will generally not take the time to break in. They'll move on to the next thing. So that's my two pieces of info while I'm trying to cook here.
And let me tell you, when we did that training at my previous employer, the training with, what do you do, to get away from people, I will tell you, it was intense. I mean, mine was running and, hiding and, thinking quick on your feet. And, it was, well, where do I have to go? What window am I going to jump out of? And, okay, so where are the ping pong balls coming from? And no, it was, simulating, lead, but it was intense. And, seeing and okay, I have an uncle who is a police officer. So, but this was more like it really got to you, and it made you think, so what am I going to do if something like this actually happens? I remember I called Vlad and I told him, I said, you know what? I said, this was really intense. I said, it really gets you thinking, what would you do if something like this actually happened? And me growing up in the South, I grew up with, stuff like this all the time, being around stuff, growing up like this, hunting and fishing and stuff like that. But it makes you think about stuff in a different way. And it was an adrenaline rush because you have, the police officers coming down and you're like, and you have to run through the halls and you have to shake, the door handles and find one that's open. So I actually used my brains on this and I was like, hey, I know you got keys. Let's go. And so, yeah, use your brains, if you use your gut instinct, because it's follow it, because 9 times out of 10, it's going to lead you in the right direction like it did with me.
I think it's really important to assess what kind of setting you're in. Because
yes.
My setting is a totally different situation. I work in a school with very fragile children. They're children we can't run with. So we're really going to have to focus on how can we hide the kids and lock them behind doors as quickly as we can. So everybody's situation will be different.
So what did they tell you about that? How to move them, how to transport them, how to hide them?
Well, the biggest thing would be is that it kind of depends on where we're at in the building. And the thing is, if we're in the classroom, we'd get the hard lockdown call over the announcements. We lock down as quickly as possible. And then we go try to find the safest place in the room, away from windows and doors, and just try to keep everyone as quiet as possible. And it's true. They say that if you can be behind a locked door, they're going to check it, and they want to take out as many people. It's sad to say, but they're looking for numbers.
Yeah.
And, this time of year, this is why Orange Kitty and I and Vlad are doing this today. It's because we have the shopping centers that are full. We have Christmas programs. We have events going on, churches. You're in very crowded locations right now. And you really have to, I don't want to take the fun out of the holidays. We just want you to be cautious and safe. So that's why we're doing this today.
Yeah, and it's really, unfortunate that, you have to think about that, that somebody would go in and do that, at a school, with children that are, disabled. But, it's sad. It is. It's really sad. And, at the facility that I work at, we have to think about, how would we get people out, in the event of, a fire, and we're trained to, put them on a sheet, wrap them up, pull them out the back, but you can't do that in, a situation like we're talking about. You would just have to get down, hide, under, a desk or a table, turn the lights out, lock that door. And I know that they make this, I don't know if you've seen it, Kelly, but it's this, it's like this little device that they put under the door, and you wind it, and it's supposed to block the door to where they can't get in. Have you seen that?
That would be awesome.
Have you seen it? But it's
No.
this new thing that they made after all of these, boom booms that's been happening, or bang bangs, Have you seen it, Vlad?
No.
Well, it's this invention that somebody made, and I can't think of the name of it right now. But it's where it goes under the door, and it jams the door to where it can't be opened. And I when did I see it? I think I saw it like a few months ago, where they're trying to get every single school to get it. They're trying to get every single school district.
It's a quick door block.
Yeah, it's a quick door block to where when you
like
get
an
the
excellent
alert.
purchase to me.
Yeah, I mean,
Absolutely.
yeah, and I can't remember what the name of it's called, but I saw the little advertisement for it, and you just open it up, slide it up under the door, wind it, and you can't get the door open.
I've seen some.
Oh, what did Brandy Weems? Nightlock makes those kind for commercial or home use. I think that's exactly what it's called, Nightlock. That's what Brandy Weems said. Is that what it's called, Brandy Weems? Okay.
That's a great suggestion, Brandy. Thank you.
Yes. So yeah, I saw the advertisement for that, and I was like, that is a great, invention, or, I thought it was great. And that would save, a lot of lives.
And that's the thing when you're in a situation like this. I mean, our main goal is to protect the ones we love, our coworkers, our family, our friends, and we can't depend on the law enforcement, because we were told at our location that it might be over 5 minutes before even an officer would reach our school. And I mean, 5 minutes to me sounds like
5 minutes,
a really short period of time. But when you have an active shooter in the building,
I wish
I wish I would have
known that, because I found a really sad and frightening poem that my friend had, and it talked about police protection, all of this. It's a very good concept, but we live 15 minutes outside of
15, more like 20, 25.
20, 25 minutes outside of town. It would take the police longer than that to get to us.
Well, JK said something interesting in chat, and this is probably controversial, but mentioned that teachers should be mandatory to carry and have the right to bear firearms.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, that is a great suggestion. I mean, I think that there should be an extra level of security with something like that they're trained and, maybe mentally stable to have that in place. But I honestly don't think it's a bad suggestion. And in fact, I think there are schools that allow it, but they have to have permission from the principals, maybe the superintendents of the area. It all is really dependent on the different school districts.
And there has been research shown that those that are mentally ill are more likely to be violated and hurt.
So, I mean, it's just today's topic. We talked about it for a while. It was really weighing heavily on my heart, because we continue to hear about these events. And one day I asked a coworker, would you know what to do if this happens here? Just reviewing it. And I've asked my family members, do you know what you're going to do because my daughter works at the mall, and trust me, in Las Vegas, these places are extremely busy. So I'm like, do you know what you're going to do if something like this happens? I mean, it's a terrible thing that we have to discuss these things with our kids. But the fact is, we live in a world that things happen, and we have to be prepared.
I think there's a lot of people that wouldn't know what to do. I think if they went into a mall or they went into a store and they heard, bang, 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 they would just freak out and wouldn't know what to do.
And Karma Ghost, I like this. It was talking about growing up with the particular items in the house, but they were taught not to touch them unless they were being used for protection or hunting, and was taught how to handle them correctly. I mean, that is such a good point. I mean, that's the world I grew up in too. We had hunters.
Yeah, I grew up hunting from the time I was 10 years old. I grew up hunting and fishing. I can skin a deer better than most men can. So, I mean, I grew up, doing that my whole life. So, I I know how to probably I probably know how to do probably more stuff than most men do because of my dad. So, I mean, and we were taught growing up, don't touch them. You touch them, you're going to get in trouble. That stays right there by the door. Somebody comes through the front door, they're going to get in trouble. So it's a different time now.
That's why we're here
raised the
today.
same way. Yeah.
You know, it's because we really do care about everyone in our extended YouTube families, and we're discussing that hard stuff today. You know, and sometimes we have to do it because we're the adults, you know, and we have to think about the kids and maybe our elderly family members and all these to protect them. So, I mean, it's our job to talk about the hard things. And I'm really excited to have everyone in chat. And at some point, if we find that somebody would really like to join in, I'll send you a link and let you join us, because if you have some expertise in this topic and like to, just let me know in chat, because we'd love to have you join us. So, but as far as, I did pull up some information from FEMA and also the Homeland Security on this discussion, and this is stuff that can be found on these websites, and it just gives you things to think about. And also, a friend of mine reminded me that we really need to pay attention to our surroundings, and sometimes we kind of forget, like just simple things like, I like to go to the gym extremely early in the morning because I like to go before I go to work. Well, and if you go the same time every day, people notice. So, I mean, simple things like paying attention to your surroundings, you know, make sure, you know, have your key in your hand and ready to unlock that door. You know, and I think another thing that we're really bad about now, and you see it everywhere, we all have our noses in our cell phones. So you can't pay attention to our surroundings if we're looking at the phone all the time. So we have to look up and check to see what's going on around us. And that's everywhere. So, I mean, you need to plan escape routes in advance. You have to know where exits are to a building. If you go to a mall that's busy, make sure you know more than one exit in the building without thinking about it. I mean, most of us tend to shop in the same places. So, I mean, it's really important to know our different locations. I'd like to say hello to CJ Blaze. I see that she's in there, and Lisa Hall. Thank you for joining us today. And everyone else too. I'm sorry. I'm not sure I'm quick. I'm trying to respond in chat. So we're working on it. So, but one of the things they say is that, you know, just really pay attention to your surroundings. No exits. Also think about, well, gee, I'm in this restaurant. If something would happen right now, where would I hide? I mean, a restaurant, you can get under tables and things. If you're in the mall walking around and it's busy, you have to think about there. Or if you're at work, you know, look at the setting. You know, are there tables to get behind? Is there a room you can lock yourself in? Because getting behind a locked door is incredibly important, because these perpetrators coming into the situation, they are looking for doing damage as quickly as possible. So let's see here. Basically, too, I mean, when we were talking at our training, they wanted us to know that when the police officers come into the event situation, they're there for one reason and one reason only in the beginning, is to stop the person that is actively causing the situation. And so you can't be bothering them when they come in the door. You know, you need to let them answer their questions, get out of their way, and let them go in and do what they need to do, because they're not there to stop bleeding or anything like that at that point. They're there to try to stop the person or people, depending on the situation. And my lighting's changing really bad in here, so I think I might have to go turn some lights on. So let's see here. So you just basically have to think ahead. And does anybody in chat like to join in with us today? Just send me a message on chat and we'll be happy to let you join. So, Kitty, what were some of the suggestions that they gave you during your training that you really took away with you?
Hold on 1 minute, okay? I'm putting earbuds in so I can hear you better.
Okay. Well, my lighting has really changed in here, so I think I need to go turn on lights. So excuse me, please, for a second.
No, it's not. Did you say what was one thing that stuck with me that I took from my training? Is that what you asked me?
Yeah, she's going to change.
Is that better?
Okay.
Yeah, do it. It's going to be the best I can do.
The fact that I had to rely on other people to get through it, and I had to work with them.
But I know that the big thing
It took a lot of teamwork.
Teamwork is incredibly important. My lighting's still bad. I might have to move my camera a different direction or move maybe the lamp. All right. So, I mean, basically, through the training, they suggest, first of all, prepare in advance.
It looks fine on the phone.
You know, you need to think about things and pay attention. If you're in a situation where something suspicious is sticking out in your mind, like something like a different car is in your parking lot at work that you've never seen before, and there's, you know, people hanging around that you've never seen before, that might be something to pay attention to. It may not mean anything, but you still got to pay attention. I mean, this is happening in so many places. I mean, even at house parties, events have happened. So, I mean, it could happen at house parties, or places of worship, our schools, our workplaces, a gas station. I mean, the big thing is just being prepared in advance and thinking about it. But, I mean, they basically give you 3 things to think about in a situation. And that is, during a situation, you want to run, hide, or fight. And I think you have to assess the situation. I mean, of course, the best thing possible would be to get away. But if you're trapped and you can't get to the door safely, you're going to have to hide. You know, or you might have to fight. But I don't think it's recommended to fight by yourself. You know, you want to do it as a group.
It might.
You okay there, Orange Kitty?
Yeah, we're having a hard time with sound right now.
Okay.
And I don't know why. You're sounding fine on the phone, but
maybe I could turn up the sound on my computer and see if that helps.
Is it sounding better yet?
No. Well, I can hear you better.
Unplug it.
Oh, I was just looking in chat here.
Hang on.
And
I can hear you better.
Check TV off.
I was just looking in chat here. And
Well, Brandy, that is a good point too. Is that when I grew up, we did have gun racks right in the parking lot of schools. The kids in high school would go hunting, and then they'd come to school, and they had gun racks with guns in the back of their up in their windows, and never anybody ever thought about it at that time. And you're right. I mean, it's a whole different attitude that's bringing us on.
Okay, tell her we're going to sign out. And we'll be back in.
Kelly,
Yes.
we're going to sign out and we'll be back in, okay?
Okay. I'll just keep talking.
All right.
All right. Look
All
forward
right.
to you
We'll
coming
come
back.
back.
Okay. I'll just keep talking. Oops. All right. Some things that we need to think about in a situation is the active person involved in this situation is wanting to hurt as many people as possible. And a lot of times they might be a disgruntled employee, or maybe somebody that went shopping and wasn't happy. And I mean, there's situations where sometimes there are people we even know. So I mean, it's just something we have to think about. In a lot of situations, I mean, we have to kind of watch how the mental health is going. I mean, that's another reason why I'm interested in this topic. Other than we also had an event here in Las Vegas that, rocked us to the core. I'm talking about the shooting here that happened, in October 2017. So that really hurt everyone here a lot. I mean, they're still suffering from it. So, I mean, I just feel like it's important that we discuss this.
There we go.
And
Yeah.
hi,
It was.
you lost the sound and I lost my light. So
I can hear you now. Huh?
I said things are going super.
Yeah, tell her I had Skype on and everything else.
He had to stop a bunch of stuff. So I think it's working now.
That's good. I hear you real well.
Okay.
That's good.
Yeah.
Okay, that Lisa Jones, that's something we could definitely talk about, is if we saw an active bang bang in the mall on suggestions, we could definitely talk about that. I mean, the things we really need to think about.
In the mall, distance yourself. Run,
Definitely.
hide. Grab your kids, get away. If there's an exit, you need to get out of there. I would say don't be a hero. I mean, I'm going to tell you right now, if I've got my kids in a store and I see somebody with a bang bang, I'm getting my kids and I'm getting out of there. I'm not going to try to be a hero.
No,
I'm grabbing Jericho and Susie and I'm getting out of there.
I mean, that's a number one thing. You really do want to distance yourself. I mean, if that's the first two choices, is if you can run, get away, get yourself behind a locked door somewhere else. You do not want to confront this person if you don't have to.
No.
There might be a situation, depending on what comes up, that you might, and they really recommend, if that happens, that you go about it with more than one person.
Yeah.
You do not do this alone.
Yeah. The only time that, you want to try to do something is if you're forced to, seriously. That's if, your life is pretty much in danger. But if there's a way for you to get away without confrontation, grab your kids and get out of there. Or if it's just you, distance yourself, hide, get in the bathroom, turn those lights out, whatever you have to do, get away. I don't care if you got to go to the back of the store, in the stock room, whatever.
Well, it doesn't matter at that point.
Yeah.
You don't
Just get away.
So, and you just got to think about whatever situation you're in. If you're at a school program, know where your exits are. You know,
Oh man, I got a school program coming up next week.
you know, I mean, all these things that we do on a regular basis that we don't fear going to the grocery store. But I'll tell you, the strangest feeling was the night that the active boom boom happened at the Walmarts, when that was kind of going around.
Oh yeah.
We went to Walmart that night, and they pretty much had barricades in the front of the doors. And it wasn't even our city that it happened in, but they were prepared. And, you know, and then you walked into the store and there were officers and security greeting people, and they were doing a show that we're here to protect you.
You want to know what the scariest thing was? I was living in Fort Worth at the time, and it was Black Friday. You remember Black Friday?
Oh,
I
I
had never been to a Black Friday ever, and I so I was like, oh, I'm gonna go to Black Friday, right? And so I had Jericho and Susie, you know, I took them to their grandma's house, and so I thought I was gonna go to Black Friday, right, in Fort Worth, of all places where I lived, and I saw these two women fist fighting over a leapfrog.
Yeah.
Like the little things that their kids have, like, to play with. And the police had to come and, like, break these women up fighting. And I'm like,
I know.
what? I'm like, what? I'm like, this is what our society has come to? Where mothers are fist fighting over leapfrogs? Like, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm like, I have to get out of here. I'm like, I can't believe that mothers are fist fighting over leapfrogs. And I was like, oh, that's it. I'm like, I'm never shopping another Black Friday as long as I live. And I won't. I don't. You can ask Vlad. I do not shop for Black Friday. I don't care how special the deal is. It is not worth me going to a store on Black Friday. That was enough for me. When I saw mothers fist fighting over leapfrogs, I was like, that's it. I'm done.
It's crazy. I mean, we've had experience at one of the schools I was working at. We literally had mothers get into a fight over cupcakes at a kindergarten graduation, and then they were a literal fist fight over cupcakes.
Cupcakes? I thought leapfrog was bad. They're fist fighting over cupcakes.
It's shocking.
And I'm a baker.
Yeah, I know. It's shocking, and that's why we never know what might come up. And you know, people are agitated these days easily. They have a lot of worries on their plate. You know, a lot of things trigger people. So, I mean, you just never know what that last straw might be to cause a problem. So, I don't know. We just have to be very vigilant.
Did you hear that, Susie? Somebody got in a fight over cupcakes at her school.
Yes, they did.
What she call me fat? Hold my cupcake.
Hold my cake. Don't eat it.
Graduation cupcakes. I mean, that takes the cake.
I guess. Yeah, that's a good saying.
Yeah.
You should use that. You should use that. That's good.
Well, I couldn't believe it happened. I mean, we were all in shock. I mean, but you do go into shock when different situations happen, and things escalate very quickly. Sometimes, you know, things that we wouldn't think, you know, that we look at and think, why is this happening? Because it's not the way we think, but that doesn't mean there's somebody out there that's already on edge, that it doesn't take much. And the next thing we know, we have a major problem. So
Right, Brandy Weems. You might have got that TV for $100 off, but you lost your dignity at aisle 7. Yeah, fighting over the leapfrogs, you know. And this is what topped it, okay? This is what topped it. This is what made me never want to shop Black Friday again, Brandy Weems, okay? This guy comes out, this young teenager, okay? He comes out and he goes, ma'am, it's okay. You all don't have to fight anymore. I have a whole stack of leapfrogs right here. That did not solve it. They were arguing over this one. Who grabbed it first? I was like, what does it matter? He's solving the problem. He has a solution. That was not good enough. It was who was right. What does it matter who's right? He was just trying to solve the problem. Yeah, I mean, it was like bizarre. I was like, okay, I'm out. I'm done. I don't need a new blender. I'm done. I'm out.
No. I think my worst experience of Black Friday was going here in Vegas, and we went to a Walmart for a TV. You know, it might have been a really nice TV, but you know, we got I've never seen such a crowded, packed place in my life, and to the point where they were crammed in there so tight you couldn't move. I mean,
Oh,
literally
wow.
could not move. And I had somebody jamming their cart into the back of me, and they wouldn't stop, you know. And finally, I just turned around and said, you know, I can't move. I know you can't move. They can't move. So please stop, because it's hurting me. You know, it was like, you know, it was like they thought if they kept jamming that cart into me, I was going to move. But I couldn't move, and I couldn't wait to get out of that store. I'd never been into such a packed, I mean, maybe like a concert or something where you kind of expect that you're going to be crammed in, but not a Walmart. And I kind of said, no way, never again, because I thought, what if something scared everybody? There would have been people trampled. And
There's been reports of that, actually. Like, I've read where there's been reports of people being trampled on Black Friday. They've been killed.
it's
All
bad.
kinds of stuff. Yeah, it's bad. So
I mean,
I don't need it that bad. I can go to work an extra shift or two, and buy it. It's not worth all that drama.
I agree. I don't need it either. I mean, and on top of it, it's a material item. You know, if we really get down to it, it's a material item. I mean, you're right. What if we have to spend a few more dollars to stay out of that mess? I mean, you do it.
Yeah. Snafu snapped. I throw the white flag, take my cupcakes.
That we're going to go down with the cupcake story for a long time, I think.
I mean, okay,
That's true.
Okay, so I don't know if everyone in here knows, but I am a baker, okay? And my kids just informed me that since I've been busy with nursing school, I need to bake a cake. So I guess tomorrow or the next day I have to go to the store and I have to get some stuff like to make frosting, you know, and make a cake. But this little boy, his mom makes cakes, and she brought some cupcakes to school last week because it was a birthday. And he said, Susie, he said, how are the cupcakes? And she goes, they're all right. She goes, they're a little dry. She goes, but they could be better. She goes, because there's room for improvement. She said, my mom bakes. She goes, hers are better. I was like, what? I was like, Susie, don't do that. I said, don't. I said, not everybody's mom is a baker. Don't do that. Lie. Say, they're great. I really like them. Don't do that. I said, you're going to make them cry. There's room for improvement.
You're right, Lisa Hall. Some people are just greedy. You're right. And, you know, you're right, Brandy. You know, we're talking about fighting over a TV, but what would it be like if it was? It would be a whole different scenario. And you're so right. You know,
but it was just those women. They were just they got into a fist fight over leapfrog or leap pad. I think that was the frog, the green one.
Yeah, and I saw in chat too that somebody was talking about the Teddy Ruxpin, that women were fighting over that. I remember that little
Teddy Ruxpin,
the Teddy Ruxpin,
the little teddy bear that talked.
Yeah, they were saying they had an experience with that too. So,
oh my goodness,
it's crazy. But I mean, honestly, so that's why, as much as we don't want to talk about this during the holidays, I mean, this is out of love that we're doing this, because we care about our friends.
Here's a story that happened. My friend told me about it last night while I was at work. She takes her 3 breaks, okay? And this is why they actually instilled the security that we have now. She goes out on her first break, takes her break, you know. She usually goes out there, takes her 15-minute break, relaxes. There's this car driving around in the parking lot. And he's driving around. She waves, comes back in. And then she takes her, lunch break. She goes home, comes back, the same car's driving around. driving around. And she doesn't recognizes the car. And she's like, well, maybe it's just somebody, in the ER, because where we work, there's an ER, and then there's, the other part that we work at, called, acute and, everything else. And so she takes her last, 15-minute break. Same car was still there, driving around the parking lot, just driving through, real slow. And she waves to the person again. She gets off of work and they tell her, don't look beside the car. Just go straight home, okay? We just need you to go straight home, because they knew that, she would be upset if she saw what happened. The person that had been driving around in the parking lot all night long was planning to follow her into the building and take people out.
Really?
Yeah, really. Anyway,
Sorry.
I'm not, trying to push. I don't push, religion on anybody or whatever. But my friend, who I've worked with for, over a year, she believes that, she had, an angel, somebody watching over her that night. Because at any moment he could have, and it was his intention, I guess, to come into the building and take people out. He could have followed her into that building at any time, but he didn't. Maybe it was because she waved to him and she was nice. And instead of taking her out and taking other people out where we worked, he took himself out in the parking lot beside his car. And because of that, they started they installed all the security that we have now.
Well, I'm so grateful that your place of work has done that, because, we have to. I mean, our school, when you first came into the building, it was all open and wonderful, where the front office staff could greet people. Well, now we have great big heavy pieces of some kind of glass sitting there. And, we're in lockdown all the time because it's to protect our kids. So, I mean, it's just what we have to do. And I don't know, it's heartbreaking. And I guess, too, that a big thing is we have to talk to our kids. And there's actually a really good video that I would recommend watching yourself, and, not only watching it yourself, but share it with family members and the kids. It's, I think, Run, Fight, Hide, and you can find it on the either Homeland Security website, and you can also find it under FEMA website. So, I mean, it really does a really nice job of kind of showing some things you can do to protect yourself. So, I don't know. It's just, and I think, too, I saw in the chat a little bit ago, was talking about, really paying attention to how people are dressed. I think it was Jeep Girl that was talking about it. Let's see if I could scroll back up. That caught my attention. Yeah, she was talking about watching people, and how they're dressed. Pay attention to their pockets, boots, ankle area, hidden areas where there might be tools and things. Maybe the big jackets that are out of place. I mean, in Las Vegas, if you see people dressed extremely heavy clothing, I mean, even in the winter, people wear sweatshirts most of the time. You don't see extremely heavy clothing. So, I mean, you're right, Jeep Girl. That is definitely good things to pay attention to. So, it's just, I don't know, it's just crazy, the things that we have to worry about. And then I think we have to assess the mental health of people too, somewhat. If you get the feeling that somebody's really off, just like Miss Kitty did. I'm sorry, Orange Kitty. Miss Kitty. Orange Kitty, that time, the situation she was talking about, she was assessing somebody. And because of it, she probably saved a lot of people from being injured, maybe worse. So, I mean, that's so important that we assess what's going on. Oh, yeah, Brandy, you're right. I mean, schools are like prisons and locked, gated and all that. I mean, I was shocked when I first came to Vegas and wondered where in the world I came to, because you know, the big high fences and all that. We didn't have that in Montana. So I
Kelly,
was totally shocked. Yes.
Kelly, we're going to have to end this. Our internet is really getting bad here
Okay.
because of the snow storm we're having.
Yeah, we're getting like 5 to 11 inches.
Yeah, your sound and your video isn't even coming through on our
Oh.
thing right now.
It's not you, it's us.
Yeah.
Okay.
'Cause we have a snowstorm.
You're coming through on 4G just fine, but when I go to when I'm using my router, the internet's really slow.
Well, maybe down the road we can just discuss this a little bit more when the weather's being nicer.
Yeah, but I'll tell you what, keep on going. You're doing a bang up job, Kelly.
Okay,
You're
well,
doing a bang up job.
well,
Go
that's
ahead.
the information that I've got from FEMA and the Department of Homeland, and if anyone has any questions, then we'll go from there.
There you go.
Hey, Kelly, I would not mind doing this again with you, okay?
Oh, I'd love doing it with you again too.
Yeah, we got really heavy snow right now.
Well, I hope that you guys are warm and safe. So we
Okay.
will talk
All
to
right.
you again
Bye.
soon, and I really sincerely appreciate you joining me today. And I think everybody's
Okay, we just lost all sound. We'll be in chat.
okay. Sounds good. All right. So some of the things that they've been talking about is, let me see here. I want to back up a little bit. All right, some things that we can talk about in order to survive a situation. And the training I went through, they talked about running, hiding, and fighting. You know, you just have to really determine what is the best thing possible. And you also have to consider what is going to be the safest option. So, I mean, that's just what we really got to do. So does anyone have any questions or anything they would like to add? Please feel free to let me know in chat. Oh, hello, Duct Tape Daddy. I see that you're driving and listening. We appreciate you being here today. And I see Vlad in chat now. Let's see here. And let's see here. Okay. And I don't know if we went over as far as what to do, you know, when the law enforcement responds. I don't know if that's something we need to talk about in more detail. If you happen to be in a situation where we were told that if we were in a situation that they had knew that there was people in our school that were allowed to carry, that the police officers would be given that list. And at that point in time, they would, you know, you would have to make sure that you let the officers know you were carrying and that you were not the one they were looking for. And so, you know, you have to be very careful and cautious of that. You don't want to become a victim in the situation. Brandy, that's a very good point. You've got to stay calm above all. Exactly. You got to really use your common sense. Stay calm. Exactly, Vlad. They recommend that you put your hands up, you know, and make sure your hands are where the police officers can see them. So, I mean, that's all really important. And then as far as, you know, make sure you keep your hands visible. I mean, we don't always think of that, but if the officers could see your hands and know that you don't have anything they need to worry about, they're going to move on. And the thing is, you know, they're there when they first arrive, they're there to stop the perpetrator from injuring anybody else. I mean, that is their number one thing. And I think people get confused sometimes. I think, yay, the help is here. You know, you've got people that are injured and need help, but they have to secure the area before before any help is allowed to come in. So, I mean, that's something they made us really aware of, that we honestly need to be aware of, that they are going to try to get us safe as quick as possible. And, you know, they were talking about the fact that it could take at least 5 minutes to get to our school. And I mean, that doesn't sound like a whole lot of time, but I think it probably would feel like a whole lot of time if you didn't have them there. Plus, who knows how long it might take for them to get into the building, depending on what's going on. So does anyone have any questions or situations they'd like to discuss? Does everybody at their workplaces have plans that they've went over? I mean, that's something that's really important to know about. I mean, my school, and we actually had a team come in and train us, because with our little fragile angels that we take care of, you know, we have to be very cognizant of the fact that we're going to have to make them do our best to keep them safe. So, I mean, they tried to help us. Oh, I love this, Brandy. You're so right. Knowing first aid. So if you know first aid, you could help one of your coworkers. You know, you could help them and stop the bleeding while the officers are taking care of what they have to take care of. So that is an incredibly good point. So, you know, if you have the time to take first aid and CPR training, it's excellent to do, because you just never know when you might need it. So yeah, I love that tip completely. So, I mean, I think that's actually, and you just gotta, you know, prepare and plan ahead. So, I mean, that's something that's just incredibly important. But if you don't have a plan in your building, you know, I would ask I would talk to your employers and say, you know, this is important. We live in a different world. It's just one of those things that I think we really do need to work on as a group. So, oh, Vlad's right. Knowing how to use your fire extinguisher is really important in advance. I mean, it's definitely important. Definitely, I agree with him, because if you don't know how to use the fire extinguisher and you're nervous and trying to figure it out, you know, it might not be as easy to get that clip off to get it turned on. So exactly. I mean, fire extinguishers can be used in several ways. I mean, in this situation, it might surprise somebody enough that they might stop, you know, and so I think that's an excellent suggestion. See, Grandee, the elementary school that my mom taught at and my son attended in the 80s was an open space school. I hope it isn't in anymore. So, I mean, you're right. I mean, the schools we went to in the 80s are different. I mean, you're finding that the schools are becoming more and more locked down. You know, it's for the safety of the kids, you know, and please, 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 if you have kids, grandkids, you know, they need to be aware. And the thing is, I think we need to think about, as parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, that maybe that teacher in that classroom might not know how to respond. You know, they might freeze up, and then these kids will literally have to decide what to do. You know, I had another situation where they had a couple of kids get into an argument in one of the classrooms, and they knocked a fire extinguisher off the wall. And in the process of knocking it off the wall, it went off. Well, the substitute freaked out, ran out of the classroom, and left all these kids in this room with the fire extinguisher going off and the two boys fighting. And the funny thing, I mean, it's not a funny thing, but my son was actually in that room that day, and they had to actually call the parents and explain to them what had happened. But, you know, we don't know if the person in charge is going to know what to do. And so we have to train our kids to be aware of their surroundings and to think for themselves. So if that adult doesn't know what to do, for their safety sometime, they might have to do something that doesn't feel quite right. they might think they're going against what the principal or the teachers would tell them to do, but if it saves their life, they might have to. I know it's a scary thought because we tell our kids, behave, listen to others, but what if they're in a situation where they've got to make that decision on their own? I mean, we need to help them. Yeah, exactly, Brandy. Marv did say that a teacher ran out during an earthquake. So it just goes to show that there's two situations right there where it showed that the adult didn't necessarily make the right choice for the kids. So, I mean, it is crazy, Brandy. It really is crazy. Oh, thank you, Vlad. He's given us directions on the fire extinguisher, I think here. He says, pull the pin, aim the base at the fire sweep at the base of the fire from side to side. Well, we could be creative with that thought too. I mean, if you find a fire extinguisher, I mean, if there's a fire, you can put it out. But then if there's a situation where it might be useful to distract somebody, why not? So, I don't know. Let's see if when we talked about potential situations that there might be workplace violence. I mean, if you start noticing that one of the employees you're working with is completely changing in their behavior, maybe they're drinking more, maybe they're not taking care of themselves, maybe they're starting to have a lot of trouble at work, they get fired. I mean, there's a whole list of things. I mean, that's something we have to pay attention to. So I don't know. I just trying to think. Basically, I was trying to see. I wish I could figure out how to show this video for you guys. But honestly, you can find it on the Homeland Security, or you could just Google run, hide, fight, and watch it, and have your kids watch it. I mean, if they're really young, maybe not, because that's another situation. We certainly don't want to scare little kids. I mean, we don't want to scare our older kids either, but we want them to be prepared. So thank you, Lisa, for being here. I appreciate it. Does Vlad or Orange Kitty, can you think of anything else that we need to share with everyone to help out? You can let me know in chat, and maybe somebody in chat, if you could think of something that we need to discuss as a group to help each other, please share. I mean, this is my website, and my whole thing is that we're family here. So, if we can do things to help each other, I want to do that. So, but I don't know. I just sincerely appreciate everyone coming today. And, you could definitely let us know if you can think of anything else that you'd like us to talk about, because I'm certainly open, and I hope I covered everything okay. With Vlad and Orange Kitty's help, I think we did. I think we did pretty good. So, I just am so grateful for all of you, and I'm grateful for my subscribers and all of our friends. So, much love to all of you. Unless there's somebody else that wants to say something, I think we might be wrapping it up, because like you said, it is the holidays and we have a lot to do. So, thank you, Lisa, for coming. Thank you, Grandy, Jeep Girl, Carolyn Lowe. It's awesome to see you here. I'm just trying to go through chat. Jeep Girl, thank you so much. You had some good suggestions. I think this actually I want to read, because this is something I just saw, and I don't know if others saw it in chat, but she said that teachers should have the kids grab their backpacks and load them with as thick of books it will hold, and have them put it on and over their chests in front. That is such a smart, easy suggestion. That would really protect them if, you're getting ready to go. Oh, Vlad, yep. I like what you're suggesting there too. I mean, the taser is definitely useful. Of course, you might want to pay attention to whatever rules you have in your workplace. But in personal I'll be honest, I have the pepper spray and the taser because, you know, I'm running around at night and things on my own sometimes, and I leave tutoring late because I work more than one job. So I have those things with me. So, yep, those are an excellent suggestion. Snafu, thank you for coming and supporting us today. I really appreciate it. I am hoping I'm getting everybody in here because, you know, Carolyn, I appreciate all of you so much because you've really supported me in this journey. So, you know, we're going to keep working on the lives and see how we can do. But I think we're going to go ahead and sign off for now. Much love to you, Orange Kitty and Vlad. Thank you very much to all of you, and happy holidays. Oh, pepper spray also. Yep, you're right, Vlad. I agree. So I don't know. Does anyone else have any questions or any comments? I don't want to cut you off and you wanted to say anything. So I enjoyed you too also, Vlad. So thank you for bearing with me and helping me with this journey. Oh, that's a good question. If there's expiration date on the pepper spray. So yours is 15 years old. You know something? I'm not sure about that. Do you know, Vlad, or anyone in chat? Because I really don't know. And I guess I would like to look. Thank you, Snafu. I appreciate that. Thank you, Jeep Girl. Yeah, I don't know. What do you know? Vlad, do you know if there's an expiration date on pepper spray? Oh, he says there is. So maybe you're going to have to get a new one. I might have to get a new one. So thank you so much, everyone. I love all of you with all my heart, and happy holidays. I'm working on another little video that's really near and dear to my heart. I'll share a little tidbit right now, but I'm working on a little video to share a little bit about my school. So, you know, it's going to be a teddy bear adventure because, of course, I can't use my students, but I have a teddy bear that's going to help share the story. So I'm working on it, but I just want to thank all of you. Thank you very much. Love all of you, and I hope you have a great evening. Much love to all.